This week's deck build is a request from a viewer. One of the feature players, Gandora Giga, the Dragon of Destruction, has yet to be released in the TG. The Gandora family of monsters is difficult in a sense, for they do not have enough material for their own archetype, but their splashability is made complicated due to the variance of their effects. Splashing one of the three in a deck is easy. Splashing multiples is a little more difficult. With only three monsters available to discuss, let's look at them. The weakest monster is Gandora, the Dragon of Destruction. While Gandora has an entire board clear, bottomless trap hole like effect, it comes at rather significant cost. You cannot special summon him, so the best way to put him on the field is through a tribute based card like Mausoleum of the Emperor or Tribute Burial to avoid the two monster tribute cost. The half life point payment is rather significant, especially early game. Finally, its attack point gain is rather soft, commonly maxing out at 2100 to 2400, and the fact that it is destroyed at the end phase, it makes it almost worthless in a sense, especially nowadays. Gandora X, the Dragon of Demolition, is definitely an improvement with the ability to receive its effect when summoned from the hand, normal or special, to remove all other monsters from the field, and vampire the attack of the highest attack point monster destroyed, in addition to doing effect damage to the opponent equal to that highest attack point monster. The life point issue has also been improved, where the player only needs to pay half life points during his or her end phase. The biggest problem with Demolition is that its usefulness is commonly predicated on the opponent's deck and playmaking, unless one's running kaiju or kaiju type monsters, because normally when you have the highest attack point monster, nuking the field typically isn't the best idea unless you know you can get game afterwards. But since this doesn't destroy back row, that's pretty dicey proposal. Gandora Giga, the Dragon of Destruction, is the best iteration of the Gandoras with its own innate special summoning ability, requiring some combination of two monsters either from the hand and or from the field. Its attack power can be sketchy at times, but is the most reliable to generate large explosive values, commonly exceeding 3,000, but frequently even reaching 5 to 6,000, due to counting all banished cards for both players, face up or face down. The problem with Giga is that netting its effect can be rather hit or miss due to the requirement of running the other Gandoras. Fortunately, due to the attack point reliability when in the proper deck, Giga commonly does not need its effect to be significant. Overall, among the Gandora monsters, Solemn and other monster effect negators are rather nasty due to the life point costs associated with destruction and Giga. Fortunately, as mentioned, Giga does not need its effect, and sometimes greedy opponents that do not negate Giga summons in effort to hope that they can bait their opponent into using his effect can be punished if you choose not to use Giga effect. So, with the three core monsters covered, let's move on to the deck build. For the Gandora monsters, I like running 3 copies of Giga and 2 copies of Demolition, along with 0 copies of Destruction. The problems with Destruction were discussed above, and running it just so Giga can have its third effect is rather needless in my opinion, for Giga is good enough on its own, where either effect is icing on the cake, and if you can get the second effect off, you really should win. The third effect and its banish cards from both graveyards, that's just overkill. A number of deck builds of Giga involves either Blue Eyes to have effective use of Dragon Shrine, Dragon's Ravine to feed Giga's effect, have a card like Keeper of the Shrine to aid in summoning, and have a secondary victory strategy with Blue Eyes, they run Lightsworn for fast random dumping and turboing. While both of these strategies are valid, they are also widely known and popular. Deck builds on this channel focus on different strategies and designs. So what does my deck look like? Due to the summons requirement for Giga I feel that it is important to run cards that can produce pluses and field presence. Well, that's an original and thought-provoking strategy, isn't it? To this point, I like running a Wind Witch engine consisting of 3 copies of Ice Bell, 2 copies of Glass Bell, and 2 copies of Snow Bell. The Wind Witch engine not only produces field presence, especially with Ice Bell's inherent special summoning ability, but provides a secondary attack strategy using synchros, including a powerful cannot be destroyed by opponent card effects Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. However, When playing the engine, it is important to watch the effect of Glass Spell due to its wind-only special summons condition when you use its effect to search for another Wind Witch monster. In addition to the Wind Witch engine, I like running, almost becoming my standard, 3 copies of Fairy Tail Luna and 1 copy of Fairy Tail Snow. Luna provides hand plussing for Giga Ray's summoning and some level of field control, while Snow provides interruption and ammunition for Giga Ray's attack power augmentation. For the remaining monsters, I run one of the nastier combinations in the game that you almost never see in 3 copies of Denko Sekka and 3 copies of Eater of Millions. Denko Sekka is the obvious choice for this deck because Giga Rays and Eater can both special summon themselves from the hand, or Denko says no to any pesky face down, and you can play them both in the same turn. Eater does Eater of Million things, wrecking field presence for the opponent, netting frequent pluses, in addition to increasing Giga Ray's attack by up to 4,500 if necessary, because you can just banish all 15 cards from your extra deck when you summon him. Finally, I like running 1 copy of Performage Trickclown for field control and combos. For the spells, I run 1 copy of Raigeki, 1 copy of Dark Hole, 1 copy of Foolish Burial to feed the graveyard with the Gandora monster, Snow, or Trickclown, depending on the situation, and 1 copy of My Body as a Shield as a protection tap. 2 copies of Instant Fusion works nicely at providing an additional monster for Giga Rays and other extra deck playmaking. Finally, I run 1 copy of Upstart Goblin and 3 copies of Pot of Desires for speed. Normally, I do not like Pot of Desires, especially in a combo-like deck, which I would argue that this deck could be due to the Lunas and Wind Witches. However, due to the attack point association with banished cards and Giga Ray's attack, Pot of Desires is a +1 and an automatic plus 3,000 attack for any Giga Rays, so despite the potential problems it could cause with comboing, its benefits are just too good to ignore. For the traps, I run 3 copies of Paleozoic Dinomischus for field control, interruption, and discarding Gandoras to set up Giga Ray's effect, 3 copies of Blind Obliteration for field control and blow-up potential, for you can't really run Mirror Force variants effectively in this build because they can get in the way of Denko Sekka's effect, and 1 copy of Torrential Tribute. For the extra deck, I run Synchro support for the Wind Witches and various rank 4s, consisting of 2 Darkfire Dragons, 2 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, 1 Stardust Dragon, 2 Clearwing Dragon, 1 Hi-Speedroid Chanbara, 1 number 103 Ragna 0, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 number 106 Giant Hand, 1 Castel the Skyblaster Musketeer, 1 Gagaga Samurai, 1 Gagaga Cowboy, and 1 Totem Bird. Because while Ice Spell's effect does say no to Totem Bird when you special summon her and then use her effect, there are times when she'll just be sitting on the field for whatever reason, and you could normal summon another Ice Spell and make Totem Bird then. But realistically, this is just kind of space filler. Well, the first thing that jumps out is, thank goodness this is an online build, because this deck would be rather expensive in real life. For those who are not hardcore players in a sense that have most of these cards, there is a cheaper, somewhat less efficient, but still rather quality build that I'll show right here. This other build has a chaos-like feel, keeping the Fairy Tales using Jaragettos instead of Wind Witches, keeping the Denko and Eater combo, adding Dark Arm Dragon, and subbing in Allure of Darknesses for the Pot of Desires. The deck list is in the description, as well as the deck list for the feature build. Overall, the biggest problem with the Gandora family is that they really do not go together, which really hurts the effect Giga Rays because it produces a lot of inconsistency with having to run the other family members. The chief strategy of this feature deck is to use Giga Rays as a big finisher thanks to the mass banishing elements found in Pot of Desires, Snow, and Eater of Millions that can significantly increase Giga Ray's attack power, and use the other pieces, most notably the Fairy Tales and the Wind Witches, to produce field control and consistency. The problem with centralizing the strategy around Giga Rays is that its effect is not quick play, and therefore there are a lot of interrupters in the game, which would make activating its effect rather difficult. You summon him down. All right, I'm going to clear your field. Your opponent just says, oh, I'm just going to flip this card. Unlike Gandora X, you don't activate on summon, and your effect isn't quick play. So, oh, you just died. All well. If it were quick play, then all you have to worry about is the negators, more than likely solemns, and that can be much more easily managed. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Without quick play, I feel you need other legitimate threats to maximize the usefulness of Giga Rays, and Giga Rays really more than likely is just going to be a gigantic beater unless you have Denko Sekka on the field as well. Well, that's my Giga Rays deck. Thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.